Let your breathing slow and let the whole of the day settle quietly behind you. There is nowhere you need to be tonight, and nothing left that you must solve. The tasks can wait. The thoughts can wait. For the next little while, you are simply going to rest and let yourself be carried, gently and without any effort at all, through the great river of light that our small world belongs to. The Milky Way. It has been turning for far longer than there has been anyone here to watch it, and it will go on turning, softly, long after this night has been forgotten. There is no hurry anywhere within it. There never has been. We will drift slowly, from one quiet fact to the next, 100 small wonders about our home among the stars. Some of them will feel familiar at first, and then open, without warning, into something far larger and stranger. Others may sound almost impossible, even though they are calmly, completely true. You do not need to hold on to any of them. You do not need to remember a single word. Let them pass through you the way warm water passes over you in a bath, touching you, soothing you, and then flowing gently on. And whenever your eyes begin to feel heavy, let them close. You will miss nothing. The galaxy will keep turning whether you are watching or not, and it will hold you just the same. So settle into the most comfortable stillness you can find. Let your shoulders soften and drop. Let your jaw unclench and your hands grow loose and warm. And before we begin, take a moment simply to arrive here. Feel the weight of your body, held and supported, resting where it lies. Feel the places where you touch the bed, your head, your shoulders, your back, your legs, all of it gently held, all of it safe. There is nothing you need to carry now. Let the ground beneath you do the holding. Let your feet grow heavy and your legs grow heavy, and that heaviness rise slowly up through you, warm and soft, like water filling a vessel, up through your hips, your chest, your arms, all the way to the crown of your head. Let your face soften. Let the small muscles around your eyes let go. And let each breath grow a little slower than the one before, without your forcing it at all, in and out and in and out like a slow and quiet tide. Let us take a little while, before we begin, simply to let your body grow heavy. There is no need to hurry toward the stars. They have waited billions of years, and they will wait a few minutes more. So bring your gentle attention, first, all the way down to your feet. Feel them, wherever they rest. And let them soften completely, let go of every small holding in them, and let them grow warm and heavy and still. Now let that same soft heaviness rise slowly into your ankles and your lower legs and your knees, each part letting go as your attention passes over it, like a warm hand smoothing a crease from a sheet. Up into your thighs now, and your hips, all of it growing loose and warm and heavy and sinking a little deeper into the bed. Let the softness rise now into your middle, your belly, rising and falling gently with each slow breath, your lower back, releasing, the whole center of you unclenching and settling and coming to rest. Let it spread up through your chest and around to your shoulders, and let your shoulders drop fully away from your ears, heavier than they have been all day. Down your arms now, all the way to your fingertips, your upper arms, your elbows, your forearms, your hands, every finger growing warm and loose and still. There is nothing your hands need to hold now. Let them lie open and empty and at ease. And let the softness rise, last of all, into your neck and your throat, and your face. Let your jaw come slightly apart so the small muscles there can rest. Let your cheeks soften. Let the space between your eyebrows grow smooth and wide. Let your eyes grow heavy in their sockets, so heavy that keeping them open begins to feel like far more effort than simply letting them close. And let the very crown of your head soften, so that from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, your whole body is warm and heavy and held and entirely at rest. There is nothing more you need to do now, and nowhere you need to go. From here on, you may simply listen, or you may drift. It makes no difference at all, and either way is perfectly right. If your mind wanders off somewhere among the stars, let it wander. You need not follow, and you need not call it back. And if, at any moment, sleep begins to reach for you, let it take you, without resistance, and without regret. You will not miss anything that matters. The facts are only a soft path down into rest, and the moment you no longer need the path is the moment you have arrived. Take one slow breath in, and let it go, and let us begin, without the smallest rush, beneath the oldest light there is. Let us begin, gently, with the thing itself, the great river of light that spans our sky, and what it truly is. For all our lives it has simply been there, that faint band across the dark, so familiar that we scarcely think to wonder at it. But tonight we will wonder at it, slowly and softly. We will start with the whole of the galaxy, its size, its turning, its unimaginable slowness, and let ourselves grow small and calm beneath it. There is no need to hold on to the numbers, or to measure anything in your mind. Simply let the bigness of it settle over you, the way the night settles over a quiet field, and let yourself begin to feel how gently and how safely you are held within it. Perhaps you have looked up on some dark night far from the city, and felt that faint band of light stretch over you, and felt, for just a moment, how small and how safe it is to stand beneath something so vast. That is the feeling we will rest in tonight, not the smallness that troubles, but the smallness that soothes, the kind that lets you set down every burden, because the thing above you is so much older and larger and more patient than any worry you could carry. So let your gaze, in your mind's eye, drift upward now, into that soft river of stars, and let it carry a little of your weight away as it goes. On the darkest and clearest of nights, far away from any town or road, you can still see it with your own eyes, a pale, faint band of light, spilling all the way across the sky, as though someone had brushed a little mist between the stars. Almost every people who ever lived looked up and gave it a name. To some it was a river, to others a road, or a path, or a stream of spilled milk poured across the heavens. They did not know what they were seeing. But what lay before them, night after night, was the edge of their own galaxy, seen from the inside, thousands upon thousands of distant suns, so far away and so crowded together that their separate lights blur softly into one single, gentle glow. That glow has been shining down on sleeping faces for longer than there have been faces to shine upon. And it is shining, quietly, still. The Milky Way is not a scattering of stars thrown at random across the dark. It is a structure, vast and slowly spinning, and held together across unimaginable distances by nothing more than its own quiet gravity. If you could somehow rise far, far above it, and turn and look back, you would see a great wheel of light, an enormous disk, wound into gentle, sweeping spiral arms, with a soft golden swelling of stars gathered at the very center. and out toward the edge of one of those spiral arms, so small you would never find it, so faint you would never notice it, would be a single ordinary star, our sun. And circling that star, a pale blue speck. And on that speck, everything. Every person, every story, every night's sleep that has ever been. All of it, held in one small corner of that slowly turning wheel. It is very hard to hold the true size of the galaxy in the mind, so let us not force it. Let us approach it softly instead. Light, which is the fastest thing that exists, fast enough to circle the whole Earth many times in a single second, takes about 100,000 years simply to cross from one side of our galaxy to the other. Not 100,000 seconds. Not days, not years of ordinary travel. 100,000 years of unbroken flight at the greatest speed there is, just to pass across the width of our home. And that vast crossing is happening right now, silently, in every direction around you as you lie here, light that set out before the first cities, still traveling, still on its way. There is no need to grasp it. Simply let the bigness of it settle over you like a warm and heavy blanket. Our galaxy holds somewhere between 100 billion and 400 billion stars. The number is so enormous that no one has ever counted them, and no one ever will. We estimate them the way you might estimate the raindrops in a passing storm, or the blades of grass in a wide field. Among all those hundreds of billions of suns are stars older than almost anything that exists, stars that were already ancient when the Earth was formed. And there are stars being born tonight, this very night, in the glowing clouds along the spiral arms. And among all of them, the old and the young, the giant and the faint, there is one modest, steady, yellow star, entirely unremarkable in that endless crowd, which happens to be the single reason that your world has warmth, and mornings, and life at all. Everything within the galaxy is turning. The whole immense disk of it rotates, slowly and smoothly, like a great wheel of light too large to comprehend. And our sun turns with it, carrying the Earth, and the Moon, and every one of us, along for the ride. We are moving through the galaxy right now at around 230 kilometers every single second. Faster than any arrow, faster than any thought. And yet we feel nothing at all. There is no wind, no rushing, no sensation of speed. No sense of motion of any kind. Only the smooth, silent, endless gliding of the whole sky, carrying us gently onward through the dark, exactly as it has carried every sleeper who has ever lived. You are moving, right now, faster than you can imagine, and you have never been more still. And yet, for all of that speed, the galaxy is so vast that a single full turn of it takes about 230 million years. Think of that, softly, for a moment. The last time our sun was in the very place it occupies tonight, there were no flowers anywhere on the Earth. The first small dinosaurs were only just beginning to appear. The continents wore different shapes. A single turn of the Milky Way is longer than the entire story of every creature we have ever known or named. And in all the time that human beings have existed, every empire, every language, every life, our sun has traveled only the tiniest fraction of a single lap. We have never once completed a circle. We are only ever partway around, drifting, patient, and unhurried. The band of the Milky Way is not the same brightness all the way around the sky. It glows thickest and richest in one particular direction, toward the constellation of Sagittarius. When you turn your face that way on a warm summer night, you are looking straight in toward the crowded, golden heart of the galaxy, through layer after layer after layer of stars, thousands of them stacked behind one another into the distance. And when you look the opposite way, on a cold winter night, the band grows thin and faint, because there you are gazing outward, away from the center, toward the lonely, sparse, and quiet outer edge, where the stars grow few and the dark grows deep. In one glance you can look toward the fullness of home, and in another, out toward its farthest, softest rim. For all its width, our galaxy is astonishingly flat. If you were to shrink the entire Milky Way down to the size of a dinner plate, it would be thinner, in proportion, than a few sheets of paper laid together. Almost all of its stars are gathered into that thin, luminous disk, and almost all of them turn together, in the same slow direction, like a vast and gentle whirlpool, wider than any thought can reach, and quieter than the deepest sleep. We live within that thin bright layer, near its middle, looking out through it in every direction. It is why the Milky Way appears to us as a band and not a scattering. We are inside the disk, looking along its length, out through the greatest crowd of stars there is. Our sun does not sit near the crowded center of all this. It rests about halfway out toward the edge, in a calm and unremarkable stretch of one of the spiral arms, and that quietness may be a kind of quiet blessing. Nearer to the heart of the galaxy, the stars are packed so closely together that the sky there would blaze with light, and there would be no true darkness and no true night at all. But out here, in our peaceful and spacious suburb of the Milky Way, the stars are spread thin, and the dark between them is deep and soft, and there is room, simply room, to breathe, and to rest, and to sleep beneath a gentle sky. We were, it seems, set down in one of the calmest neighborhoods the galaxy has to offer. And here, perhaps, is the gentlest truth to begin with. Everything you have ever touched, the water you drink, the air you breathe, the iron carried in your blood, the calcium that shapes your bones, every atom of it was made inside the stars of this galaxy, long before the Earth existed. You are not something separate from the Milky Way, watching it from outside. You are a small, warm, living piece of it, briefly awake, resting for a while beneath the rest of itself. The same galaxy that spun those stars into being spun, in time, into you. And tonight, one of its countless small pieces is lying still and growing sleepy and listening to the story of the whole. Let that thought hold you, softly, as we drift on. And so we have seen the shape of the whole, the great turning wheel of it, its size, its slowness, and our own small warm place within it. Before we drift on toward its center, let all of that settle gently, and ask nothing of you. You do not need to hold the numbers, or the distances, or the years. Let them fall away like leaves onto still water. All that need remain is the soft, wide feeling of the galaxy turning quietly around you, unhurried and immense, and the knowledge that you are held within it, safely, exactly where you are. Breathe slowly now. Let your body grow a little heavier against the bed. And let us drift, together, on toward the heart of it all. Now let us turn, slowly, and look inward, toward the very center of the galaxy, far across the dark, behind its veils of dust. There is something there, at the heart of it all, that is enormous, and ancient, and perfectly still. And though it is a place of unimaginable power, Everything we will find there tonight is calm and slow and safe and very far away. Let us go toward it gently, the way you might walk quietly toward the embers of a fire late at night, drawn by the warmth and the mystery, but in no hurry at all. As we turn our attention to the galaxy's still center, you might let your own thoughts begin to settle toward a center of their own, growing quieter and slower and more peaceful with every word. At the very center of the Milky Way, hidden far behind thick and drifting clouds of dust, there is something enormous and ancient and utterly dark. A black hole, a place where gravity has folded in on itself so tightly that not even light, the fastest thing there is, can ever climb back out. We have given it a name, Sagittarius A star. It is not a hole in any ordinary sense, not an emptiness or an absence. It is more like a still, silent anchor, a single deep point around which the entire vast galaxy quietly, patiently turns. Everything in the Milky Way, every one of its hundreds of billions of stars, is in some slow way circling this dark and steady center. And it has been doing so, without pause, since long before the Earth was born. This central black hole holds the mass of about 4 million suns, 4 million stars worth of matter, all gathered into a single point smaller than the space between our Sun and its nearest planets. And yet, for all that unimaginable power, it is calm. It is not devouring the galaxy. It is not pulling the stars into their doom. Most of the time it simply waits and holds, drawing the innermost stars into long, slow, elegant orbits around itself, like leaves circling gently over a drain that never quite pulls them down. There is nothing violent about it tonight. It is patient and stable and far, far away. Think of it, if you like, as the quiet keeper of the galaxy's center, holding everything together with a grip so gentle that not a single star has ever felt afraid. We have actually watched the stars nearest the center trace their paths around this darkness. There is one star in particular that astronomers followed year after year, for decades, a star that sweeps around the black hole on a long, patient loop, racing at thousands of kilometers per second at its closest approach, and then drifting slowly outward again into the dark, before turning to come back. By watching that single faithful star complete its orbit, we could weigh the invisible thing at the center and be certain it was truly there. It was, in a way, the galaxy quietly showing us its own hidden heart, one star, circling patiently in the dark, tracing out the shape of a mystery no eye could ever see directly. For the longest time, no one had ever seen it, for a black hole gives off no light of its own. It is, by its very nature, invisible. And then, only recently, telescopes all across the surface of the Earth were joined together and made to work as though they were a single eye, an eye as wide as the whole planet. And with that vast, patient, planet-sized eye, we captured, at last, a faint ring of glowing gas encircling the darkness at our galaxy's core. After all the long centuries of looking up and wondering, we finally held a true portrait of the center of home, a soft, orange ring around a perfect, silent dark. It had been there the whole time, of course, waiting, exactly as it is tonight. The heart of the galaxy is wrapped so thickly in dust that, in ordinary light, we cannot see it at all. If those great clouds of dust were somehow not there, the galactic center would be one of the brightest and most beautiful sights in all our night sky, a soft, swollen, golden glow of countless crowded stars, bright enough, perhaps, to cast a shadow. But the dust hides it from us, gently, the way a bank of mist hides a distant mountain from a traveler. We only ever found the center by learning to look in kinds of light our eyes were never built to see, in the warm glow of infrared, which slips through the dust untroubled. There is a quiet lesson in that some of the most magnificent things are simply veiled, waiting patiently to be seen by those who learn a gentler way of looking. Around that central black hole lies a dense and golden crowd of stars, gathered into a great rounded swarm we call the bulge, hundreds of millions of stars, packed close, many of them very old. These are among the most ancient stars in the entire galaxy, formed when the Milky Way itself was young and still taking shape. They have been shining there, patiently, since near the very beginning. When you look up on a summer night and see the brightest, richest part of the Milky Way's pale band, you are seeing the leaked and scattered light of that ancient golden crowd, filtering out to you between the dark lanes of dust. It is the oldest light in the galaxy's oldest quarter, and some of it has been traveling toward your eyes since before there was anyone here at all. Now and then, across the long ages, the central black hole has stirred. Astronomers have found two enormous, faint bubbles of gas, reaching far above and far below the flat disk of the galaxy, spreading out for thousands of light-years, the quiet echoes of some ancient outburst from the core, from millions of years ago, long before human beings existed. Today those great bubbles simply hang there in silence, soft and vast and still, like the slow ripples left on the surface of a pond long after the stone that made them has sunk out of sight. Whatever happened at the center to make them has long since passed and settled. All that remains is this gentle, spreading calm, a stillness that followed a stir, exactly as stillness always, in the end, returns. Everything near the center moves quickly, and yet, from our great distance, it all appears perfectly, peacefully still. The innermost stars complete their orbits in mere years or centuries, rather than the 200 million years our own sun requires, because they circle so close to that deep and powerful well of gravity. But we are far away from all that hurry, safe and slow and unbothered, out here in our quiet arm of the disk. The rush at the center never reaches us. Out here, there is time for everything, and time to spare, and time simply to rest. Let the fast, bright dance of the galactic center spin on, far away in the dark, while you grow slower and softer and stiller, here in the calm of the outer disk, where nothing is ever in a hurry. It would take light itself about 26,000 years to travel from the center of the galaxy all the way out to where you are lying now. Which means that the faint glow reaching your eyes tonight from the direction of that center began its long journey 26,000 years ago, when the last great ice age still held the world in its grip, when no city had ever been built, when your distant ancestors were sheltering from the cold and looking up, perhaps, at the very same band of light. That ancient glow has been crossing the dark, patiently, the entire time since, through all of human history, all at once, only to arrive, softly and without a sound, on this one quiet evening, upon your closing eyes. And for all its darkness and all its power, the black hole at the center of the galaxy is not, in the end, anything to fear. It is unimaginably far away. It is slow and steady and stable. And it has been holding the entire Milky Way gently together since long before there was any life at all to wonder about it. Think of it, if it helps you drift, as the still point at the very center of a vast and turning wheel, motionless and silent, and asking nothing whatsoever of you. Everything else may spin, the still center simply holds. You might let yourself become a little like that center now, perfectly quiet, perfectly steady, needing to do nothing, needing to go nowhere, a small still point of your own, resting at the heart of the turning night. We have looked, now, into the very heart of the galaxy, into its darkness and its stillness and its patient, holding power. And we have found there nothing to fear, only a deep and ancient calm. So let that calm be yours, too, as we turn away from the center and drift back out toward the light. There is nothing at the heart of this night that means you any harm. There is only quiet and steadiness and the slow sure holding of everything in its place. Let your breathing follow that same slow rhythm now, in and out and in and out, each breath a little deeper, each one carrying you further from the day and closer to sleep. And let us drift gently back out toward the shining arms. Let us drift outward again now, away from the center, and follow the great sweeping arms that wind their way through the galaxy, those graceful curves of light that give the Milky Way its shape. They are stranger and gentler than they first appear, not solid things at all, but slow waves, flowing through the stars. As we trace them, imagine yourself floating slowly along one of those luminous arms, carried without effort, past glowing clouds and newborn stars, drifting on the same slow current that carries everything here. There is nothing to grip and nothing to steer. You are simply being carried, gently, along the shining arm, and you may let yourself be carried in just the same way now, softly, wherever the words happen to lead. There is a particular kind of rest in being carried, the rest a child knows, half asleep, when someone gathers them up and carries them to bed, and they do not have to walk, or think, or hold themselves up any longer. That is the rest we are after now. You do not have to steer this journey, or keep pace with it, or understand it. You have only to be carried. So let the slow current of the galaxy's arm take the whole of your weight, and let it move you gently onward through the warm and glowing dark, while you do nothing at all but drift, and soften, and sink a little deeper toward sleep. The graceful arms that wind their way through our galaxy are not solid things, and they are not fixed in place. They are far stranger and far gentler than that. They are more like waves, slow ripples of gathering and crowding that move through the disk, pressing the gas and the stars just a little closer together as they pass. A star does not belong to a spiral arm the way a house belongs to a street. It simply drifts into the arm, glows there for a while among the crowd, and then drifts out the other side, over millions upon millions of unhurried years, continuing on its own quiet way. The arms are not a thing so much as a happening, a pattern of light that flows through the stars without ever holding on to any of them. Nothing in them is trapped. Everything in them is passing through, exactly as we are. Our own sun does not live in one of the great arms at all. It lives in a smaller, softer strand of stars called the Orion Spur, a gentle bridge of light that runs between two of the larger arms, like a quiet lane between two busy roads. It is a calm and unremarkable place, and we may be quietly grateful for it. Out here in the spur, the stars are spread thin, the clouds of dust are light and few, and the nights are dark and deep and clear. We are living, in the truest sense, in the peaceful countryside of the Milky Way, away from the crowds, away from the bright and crowded lanes, in a soft and spacious stretch of the disk where there is room to breathe. It is a good place to be small. It is a good place to rest. Beyond our little spur lie the galaxy's true arms, with old and sweeping names, the Perseus arm, curling through the near side of the disk, and the long scutum Centaurus arm, which wraps its way around the far side of the crowded center. Each of these arms is thousands of light-years across, threaded with glowing rivers of gas and studded all along its length with bright young stars. We have never once seen them from the outside. We have never been able to step back and look. We have only ever felt our way through the fog from within, mapping our own home patiently, one faint star at a time, across generations of quiet watching. And slowly, gently, we have drawn the shape of the place we live, not by seeing it whole, but by tracing it, softly, from the inside out. In a way, a spiral arm is a kind of gentle traffic, a place where the flowing stars and gas slow down and gather, and pile a little closer together, just as cars gather and slow where a wide road narrows. The individual stars keep moving through it, in and out, never held. It is only the crowding itself that lingers, and glows, and stays. That is why the arms shine so brightly, and why they have kept their graceful shape across billions of years, even though countless separate stars have passed all the way through them and moved on. The pattern remains, though everything within it flows. There is something restful in that, the idea that a shape can last and stay lovely, precisely because it does not cling to any single thing that makes it up. Across the very center of our galaxy runs a straight bar of stars, a long, golden bar of light, so that the Milky Way is not a simple spiral at all, but a barred spiral, with its two main arms trailing gently outward from the ends of that central bar. It took us a surprisingly long time to realize this, and the reason is a humble one. We are sitting inside the galaxy, deep within its disk, and we simply cannot step outside to look at its shape. We had to work out the form of our own home from within, from the slow motions of the stars, from the drift of the gas, from patient measurement and careful thought. Imagine trying to draw the outside of the house you have lived in your whole life, having never once been able to leave it. That is the quiet task astronomers set themselves, and slowly, gently, they solved it. The spiral arms tend to glow with a faint blue light, and there is a tender reason for it. Blue stars burn hot, and fast, and brilliantly, and because they spend their fuel so quickly, they live only a very short while, and die young. So wherever you see that blue glow in the galaxy, you are seeing stars that were born only recently, and have not yet had the time to drift away from the arm where they formed. The arms are blue because they are young. They are the places where the galaxy is still, quietly and constantly, making new light. Old regions fade to soft yellows and reds, but along the arms, the blue keeps returning, generation after generation, as new stars are lit to replace the ones that have gone. It is a color, in the end, that means beginning. Sprinkled all along the spiral arms are faint, glowing clouds of pink and rose, the great nurseries where the very newest stars are being born, lighting the gas around them from within. If you could somehow watch the galaxy for 100 million years, all sped up into a few gentle minutes, you would see these bright nurseries flicker along the arms like slow, drifting fireflies, appearing here and fading there, as one generation of stars gives way to the next, and the next, and the next. It has been doing this, softly and without pause, for far longer than the Earth has existed, this endless, patient flickering of new light along the arms. And it is doing it right now, tonight, in 100 quiet places across the disk, while you lie here, growing sleepy, beneath its distant, gentle glow. The pattern of the spiral arms outlives absolutely everything that passes through it. Individual stars are born and shine their while, and fade or die. Whole families of stars form and scatter. The gas flows in and flows out again. And yet the graceful spiral shape endures, renewing itself over and over, far longer than any single sun could ever last, longer, even, than our own sun will shine. There is something deeply restful in that thought, something worth carrying down towards sleep. The beauty of the galaxy does not depend on any one star lasting forever. It does not even depend on ours. The pattern simply carries on, gathering new light to itself endlessly, letting the old light go without grief, and remaining lovely through all of it. It does not need to hold on in order to stay beautiful. Neither, perhaps, tonight, do you. Because the spiral arms are waves rather than solid structures, our sun slowly drifts into them and out of them again as it makes its long, slow circle around the galaxy, spending unimaginable stretches of time in the quieter, more open spaces that lie between. We may be passing through the edge of an arm right now, or resting somewhere in a calm and open gap. From inside, it is genuinely hard to tell. But either way, the journey is unimaginably slow, and unimaginably smooth, and utterly silent. There are no bumps in it, no turns you could feel, no sense of crossing from one place into another. We simply sail on, gently, through arm and gap alike, across millions of years, carried without the slightest disturbance. Nothing about that long crossing has ever once broken anyone's sleep, and nothing about it ever will. Almost all of the galaxy's new stars are born within these arms, in the crowded, glowing lanes where the gas is pressed together thickest. So when you look up at that pale band of light across the sky, you are not only seeing old and ancient starlight, you are seeing the very places where light is still, at this moment, beginning. The Milky Way is not a finished thing, sitting complete and unchanging in the dark. It is still working, still gathering, still, gently, creating, lighting new suns along its arms as it has for billions of years, and will for billions more. There is a quiet comfort in that, as the night deepens, that even now, as you drift towards sleep, somewhere in the arms of the galaxy, new stars are being lit, softly, one after another, in the endless, patient dark. And so we have followed the great arms of the galaxy, those slow waves of light, forever flowing, forever renewing, holding their beauty without ever holding on. There is a gentleness in them worth keeping close as you sink towards sleep, the sense that things can move, and change, and pass, and still remain lovely, that nothing needs to be gripped or kept in order to be whole. Let the arms carry that lesson to you now. Let whatever thoughts remain of the day flow through you the way the stars flow through the arms, arriving, glowing for a moment, and drifting gently on, without your having to hold a single one. And let us drift now toward the quiet clouds where the stars are born. Now let us go to the quietest and most tender places in all the galaxy, the great dark clouds where stars are born. It may surprise you to learn that all the fierce light of the stars begins in cold, and dark, and stillness, that every blazing sun was once a slow gathering of gas in the deep quiet of a cloud. There is something in that worth carrying gently into sleep, that the brightest things come, in the end, out of the dark and the still, without hurry, and without any effort at all. As we drift among these nurseries, breathe slowly, and let your own stillness deepen, and remember that rest, too, is a kind of quiet gathering, a slow becoming, in the dark, of everything you will be tomorrow. Stars do not simply appear out of nothing. Every one of them is born inside a vast, cold, quiet cloud of gas and dust, a nebula, some of them hundreds of light years across, drifting slowly between the stars like great, silent banks of fog. These clouds are dark and cold, and so thin that they are emptier than almost any emptiness we could make on Earth. And yet, given enough time, and the slow, patient pull of gravity, they become the very cradles of suns. Everything bright in the whole galaxy, every star you have ever seen, including the one that warms your world, began its life inside something dark and cold and still, exactly like this. There is a gentleness in that all the light of the galaxy comes, in the end, out of the quiet dark, slowly, and without any hurry, and without any noise at all. One such nursery hangs in the sky within the sword of the constellation Orion, and on a clear, dark winter night you can just make out its faint glow with nothing but your own eyes. It is the Orion Nebula, a great glowing cavern of gas, lit from within by a cluster of brilliant young stars, and wide enough to hold many thousands of solar systems inside it. The soft light you see from it began its journey toward you long ago, and it arrives now only as the gentlest smudge of brightness in the dark, a small blur where the eye expects a point. And yet within that faint smudge, right now, hundreds of new suns are quietly taking shape. When you look at it, you are looking at a place where stars are being born, a nursery, glowing softly, 1,000 and more light years away, and utterly at peace. Within these great clouds, the gas gathers itself into towering shapes, vast columns and pillars, sculpted slowly by the light and the winds of the young stars nearby. Some of these pillars are light years tall, taller than anything the word tall was ever meant to describe, and deep inside their dark and folded shapes, new stars are quietly forming, hidden from view. They look, in the great images we have made of them, almost solid, like mountains, or like the trunks of enormous trees, or like slow towers of rising smoke. But they are gossamer thin, softer than any cloud on Earth, vast and slow sculptures of dust standing patiently in the dark for tens of thousands of years at a time, changing so gradually that no single lifetime could ever see them move. They are among the most beautiful things the galaxy makes, and they make them in perfect silence. A star begins the moment a small part of one of these clouds grows just a little denser than the gas around it, and its own faint gravity starts, ever so gently, to draw it inward. Slowly, over ages, over hundreds of thousands of years, more and more gas falls together, pulling tighter and warmer at the center, gathering itself in from the cold and drifting dark. There is no drama in it, no sudden spark, no violence of any kind. There is only a long, patient, gentle gathering, an entire sun assembling itself out of a whisper of scattered gas, one quiet grain at a time, in the deep silence of the cloud. It is perhaps the slowest and most peaceful act of creation there is, a star, taking shape the way sleep takes shape, gradually, softly, gathering itself out of the dark without any effort at all. As the gathering gas is squeezed tighter and tighter by its own slowly growing weight, its heart grows hotter and hotter, until at last, deep at the very center, it becomes hot enough to ignite. And in that quiet moment, a new star begins to shine, and the long darkness of the cloud is broken, for the first time, by a small and gentle light. It has happened billions upon billions of times already, across the long life of the galaxy, and yet it never becomes ordinary, this first kindling of a star. It is, in the truest sense, the most common miracle there is a new sun beginning to burn in the dark, a light that may go on shining for billions of years, born quietly out of nothing more than cold gas and patience and time. Somewhere in the galaxy, tonight, it is happening again, exactly as gently as always. Stars are almost never born alone. A single collapsing cloud will form not one star but many, all at once, dozens or hundreds, or even thousands of them together, all taking shape as brothers and sisters out of the very same slow-turning gas. For a long while afterwards they remain close, a bright new family of suns, clustered together in the dark where they were made, glowing side by side. Our own sun was born this way, long ago, not as a lonely single star, but as one member of a great family of siblings, formed together from one cloud. It has not seen any of them for billions of years now. But it began its life surrounded, in a bright and crowded nursery, among 1,000 other newborn suns, all sharing, for a little while, the same first light. These new families of stars are called open clusters, loose, glittering, gentle groups of young suns, still drifting together through the galaxy after their shared birth. There are a great many of them scattered along the spiral arms, each one a single batch of stars born from a single cloud, traveling on together for a time. But they are held together only loosely by the faintest of gravity, and so, over the long ages, they slowly loosen and unravel. One by one, their stars wander off in their own directions, drawn away by the pull of the wider galaxy, until at last the family is fully scattered, and only the individual suns remain, spread across the disk, no longer knowing one another. It is not a sad thing, this slow dispersal. It is simply the way the galaxy breathes out, gently releasing what it once gathered in. The most beloved of all these clusters is surely the Pleiades, the seven sisters, a small, misty knot of blue-white stars that has been noticed, and named, and told about by very nearly every people who has ever lived beneath the sky. What looks to the unaided eye like a small handful of stars, 6 or 7 faint points gathered close, is in truth a family of many hundreds of young suns, born together and still traveling together, all wrapped in the soft blue haze of the dust from which they were made. They are young, as stars are measured, barely more than 100 million years old, mere children beside our own middle-aged Sunday. And they have hung there, that little misty cluster, through all of recorded human memory, watched and loved by countless eyes that have since closed forever, and are watched and loved still. In time, every family of stars drifts apart. The gentle, ceaseless pull of the galaxy, and the slow tug of every passing star, loosens each cluster year by year, and age by age, until its members scatter at last into the general crowd of the disk and are lost to one another. But there is no grief in it, and no ending, really, only a quiet dispersal, a soft letting go. Somewhere out there tonight are the long-lost siblings of our own sun, the very stars that were born beside it, from the same cloud, billions of years ago. They are scattered now across the whole galaxy, unimaginably far apart, shining quietly, each entirely unaware of the others, and unaware of us. And yet they share, across all that distance and all that time, a single common origin, one cloud, one birth, one first and gentle light. So our own sun, too, was born in a bright and crowded nursery, among 1,000 other new-made stars, and then, over billions upon billions of years, it drifted slowly and quietly away, out of the crowd, into the calm and open space where we now rest. We will never find our siblings again, The galaxy is simply far too wide, and the years too many, and the trails long since gone cold. But they are out there still, made from the very same first cloud as we are, sharing with us, across all that unimaginable distance, one quiet and common beginning. When you look up at the scattered stars tonight, some few of them, you could never know which, are the lost brothers and sisters of our sun, shining softly in the dark. And all of them, near and far, came out of the quiet the same way we did. We have wandered, now, through the great nurseries of the galaxy, through the cold, dark, patient clouds where all the light of the stars begins. And perhaps the gentlest thing we found there is this, that creation is quiet and slow, and gathers itself without effort, out of the stillness and the dark. You are doing something a little like that yourself, right now, gathering rest to you, slowly, in the quiet, letting the day's scattered pieces settle and draw together into sleep. There is no need to hurry it, any more than a star hurries its own becoming. Simply let it gather, softly, in its own time. And let us drift on, now, to look more closely at the stars themselves. Let us slow down now, and look more closely at the stars themselves, not the galaxy as a whole, but the single suns that fill it, each one different from the next. For the stars are not all alike, as they seem to be at a careless glance. They have their colors, and their temperaments, and their long, slow lives, some brief and brilliant, some faint and almost endless. As we move among them, one by one, there is no need to keep them separate in your mind, or to remember which is which. Simply let each one drift past you like a soft point of light seen through a train window at night, noticed for a moment, gently, and then let go, as the next one comes. Let your attention grow as soft and unhurried as that. There is something deeply restful in that kind of looking, the loose, drifting gaze of someone who has nowhere to be, watching the lights slide by, holding on to none of them. It is the very opposite of the sharp, effortful attention of the day, and it is exactly the attention that leads to sleep. So let your mind go soft at its edges now. Let the stars, and the words, and the slow images all blur together a little, the way the world blurs just before you drift off. You need not keep anything in focus. You need only let the gentle procession of lights carry you, one after another, down toward the dark. If you look closely and patiently at the stars, you will begin to notice that they are not all the same color. Some of them burn a faint and gentle red, some glow warm and yellow, like our own sun, and a few shine with a fierce and brilliant blue-white. And their color, it turns out, is simply their temperature, made visible to the eye, the cooler stars glowing red, like the last soft embers of a fire settling into the night, and the very hottest stars burning blue. So the whole of the night sky is, in truth, a great and scattered map of heat, painted quietly across the dark, a spread of warmths and coolnesses, of embers and furnaces, all hung silently above you. And every one of those colored points is a sun, some gentle, some fierce, burning steadily, and utterly beyond reach, in the deep cold of space. By far the most common stars in the whole galaxy are the small, cool, faint red ones, the red dwarfs. They are dim and modest, most of them far too faint to see with the unaided eye, and yet they quietly outnumber every other kind of star, many times over. They are the vast, patient majority of the Milky Way. And because they are small, they burn their fuel so slowly and so sparingly that they can go on shining for trillions of years, far, far longer than the universe has yet existed, longer than the mind can hold. Not one red dwarf has ever yet died of old age in the whole history of the cosmos. There simply has not been enough time. They are the galaxy's quiet endurers, its faithful and unremarkable multitude, glowing softly and steadily on, long after the brighter, grander stars have blazed and gone. Our own Sun is a middling, ordinary, yellow star, and not the largest, not the brightest, not rare in any way, entirely unremarkable among the hundreds of billions around it. And yet its steady, patient, unspectacular warmth has been enough to hold an entire living world in its light for more than 4 billion years, enough to raise up oceans and forests and every creature that has ever breathed, including you. There is a gentle lesson hidden in that, if you care to hold it as you fall asleep, that it does not take a rare, or dazzling, or extraordinary star to be the center of something precious beyond measure. An ordinary sun, shining quietly and faithfully, asking for no attention at all, will do. It is enough simply to be steady, and warm, and there. Our whole world was built on nothing grander than that. The great blue giants are the very opposite of the humble red dwarfs. They are enormous, and blindingly bright, hundreds or thousands of times more luminous than our sun, and they pour out their light so lavishly, so extravagantly, that they exhaust their entire lives in only a few million years. A few million years, a mere flicker by the slow measure of the galaxy, gone almost as soon as they arrive. They live fast, and brilliant, and impossibly bright, and then they end. Nearly every blue star you can see in the sky tonight is younger than the mountains on the earth, younger, some of them, than the earliest human beings. They are brief and glorious visitors, these blue giants, blazing their short blaze and passing on. And yet, while they burn, there is nothing in all the sky more radiant, nor more generous with its light. When a star like our own sun grows old, at the very end of its long life, it does not simply flicker out. Instead it swells, slowly and gently, over many millions of years, into a vast red giant, growing to hundreds of times its former size, its bloated surface cooling as it expands into a deep and tender red. It is the long, quiet evening of a star's life, its slow and golden old age. And billions of years from now, our own sun will do exactly this. It will swell and redden and grow enormous, and then, softly, it will let its outer layers drift gently away into the dark, like a long, slow, sighing breath released at the end of a full day. There is no violence in it, for a star like ours. Only a gradual, graceful, unhurried letting go. What remains, after a sun-like star has finally released its outer layers, is a small and dense and quiet ember, or a white dwarf. It is the exposed, naked core of the old star, no larger than the whole Earth, yet holding much of the mass of a sun, and glowing still with the leftover heat of a long life of burning. It makes no new light of its own now, its fires are out. It simply cools, slowly, over billions upon billions of years, fading ever so gradually toward the dark, patient beyond all patience. It is not really a death, this, not an ending so much as a long, peaceful settling into rest. A star that has finished its work, banked its last embers, and lain down at last to cool, quietly, in the dark, for longer than we could ever hope to imagine. The very greatest stars, though, end in a different way entirely. When a truly massive star finally runs out of fuel, its enormous core collapses in a single instant, and the star tears itself apart in a burst of light so brilliant that, for a time, it can outshine an entire galaxy of 100 billion suns, a supernova. It is the most violent event the galaxy knows. And yet, from our safe and enormous distance, even this arrives to us gently, as nothing more than a faint new point of light, appearing quietly in the sky where there was none before, glowing for a while, and then, over weeks and months, slowly and softly fading away again. What was, up close, an unimaginable cataclysm reaches us, across all that dark, only as a small star that brightens, lingers, and gently goes. Even the galaxy's fiercest endings come to us as something almost tender. After a supernova has faded, the scattered gas of the dead star hangs in space as a soft, glowing, expanding cloud, a remnant, delicate and lace-like, still lit gently by the great event that made it. Over thousands of years these clouds slowly thin, and cool, and spread, and finally mingle back into the general gas of the galaxy, becoming part of the raw material from which new stars will one day form. But while they last, they are among the loveliest things in all the sky, these gentle, glowing ruins, these soft-colored shells of light drifting outward into the dark. They are the last exhale of a great star, dissolving slowly, gracefully, generously, back into the galaxy that made it. Even in ending, even in ruin, the star gives something beautiful. Even its death, seen from far enough away, is only another quiet light. And sometimes, at the very heart of that glowing ruin, the crushed core of the dead star survives, a neutron star, so unimaginably dense that a single spoonful of its matter would weigh as much as an entire mountain here on Earth. Some of these strange remnants spin very rapidly, sweeping thin beams of light around and around across space, like the quietest and most distant of lighthouses, ticking out the seconds with an almost perfect, steady regularity, tick, 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 for millions of years without fail. They are tiny, these neutron stars, only a handful of kilometers across, and impossibly strange, and utterly silent. And they turn and turn and turn in the deep dark, keeping their faithful, patient time long after the great star that made them has vanished, marking out the slow hours of a galaxy that never sleeps. And here is the gentlest and most consoling truth of all the stars, that when they die, they give their substance back. The gas each dying star scatters, enriched, now, with the very elements it forged in its own burning heart, the carbon and the oxygen and the iron, drifts out into the dark and joins with new clouds, which one day, in their turn, collapse and gather and ignite into new stars. Every star that has ever shone was built, in part, from the ashes of the stars that came before it. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is truly lost. The galaxy does not squander its light, it simply passes it on, and on, and on, from one generation of suns to the next, endlessly, patiently, without grief and without end. The light you rest beneath tonight is old light, handed down. And one day, it will be handed on again. We have watched, now, the long slow lives of the stars, their births, their colors, their gentle old ages, and the quiet way they give themselves back at the end. And through all of it runs a single, comforting thread, that nothing is truly lost, that everything is gathered up and passed along, that even endings are only beginnings wearing a different face. Let that ease you now, as you settle deeper. Whatever the day took from you, whatever it asked, is not gone for nothing. It too will be gathered up and turned, in time, into something new. There is no waste in it, and no need to grieve. For now, simply rest and let the old light hold you. And let us drift on into the unseen parts of the galaxy. Now we come to one of the deepest and quietest wonders of all, the parts of the galaxy that cannot be seen. For everything we have looked at so far, all the bright stars and glowing clouds, is only a small part of the whole. Around and through it all lies something vast and dark and silent, holding everything together with an unseen hand. There is a strange comfort in this, as you drift toward sleep, the knowledge that so much of what holds our home together is invisible and gentle and everywhere, and that we are cradled by it whether we can see it or not. You do not need to understand it. You need only let yourself be held by it, the way you are held, right now, by the quiet dark of your own room. Beyond the bright, flat, glowing disk of the Milky Way lies something far larger and almost entirely unseen, a vast, faint halo, wrapping the whole galaxy in a great and gentle sphere of scattered stars and thin, quiet gas. The disk that we see, that pale band across the sky, is only the bright center of a far greater thing. When you picture the galaxy as you drift toward sleep, try to picture not just the shining spiral, but this enormous, invisible halo surrounding it on every side, soft and round and immense, holding the bright disk cradled at its heart. Almost everything we can see is gathered in the thin, bright disk, but the disk itself floats at the center of something much larger, much quieter, and much older, reaching out into the dark in all directions, far beyond the reach of any ordinary eye. Drifting far out in that great halo are the globular clusters, dense, round, glittering swarms of stars, hundreds of thousands of them packed tightly together into vast glowing balls. They are among the very oldest things in the entire galaxy, nearly as old as the universe itself, formed in the earliest ages before the disk had even taken shape. And they have been circling the Milky Way, patiently and faithfully, ever since, following their long, slow orbits high above and below the disk, out in the quiet reaches of the halo, for more than 12 billion years. They are ancient congregations of stars, these globular clusters, gathered close and keeping their slow and steady courses in the dark. Some of the light reaching us from them tonight is nearly as old as time. They were old before the Earth was young. The stars of the halo are old, far older than our own sun, born in the galaxy's earliest days, when it was still gathering itself together out of the raw darkness. They are the elders of the Milky Way, and they carry within them, in the very make-up of their light, the memory of how the galaxy began. When we study their faint, ancient glow, and read the elements they are made of, we are in a real sense reading the galaxy's own childhood, the story of its first stars, written quietly into the ones that have lasted the longest. They have watched everything that has happened since, the forming of the disk, the winding of the arms, the birth and death of countless younger suns, the slow late arrival of our own small Sunday. And they are shining still, patient elders, keeping their long and silent watch. And yet, when we weigh the galaxy carefully, by the speed of its turning, by the pull it exerts on its stars, we discover something astonishing, something that has humbled us deeply. There is far more here than we can see. The stars turn as though held by a great and unseen mass, a vast invisible presence spread throughout the halo, giving off no light of any kind. We call it dark matter, though the truth is we still do not really know what it is. We know only that it is there, and that it is enormous, and that it makes up most of the galaxy's weight. We are wrapped, it seems, in something vast and gentle and entirely unseen, something that has been holding our galaxy together since the very beginning, and which we have never once glimpsed directly. Most of whom, it turns out, is invisible. By everything we are able to measure, the Milky Way weighs many, many times more than all of its visible stars and gas and dust combined. The light we see, every star, every glowing cloud, the whole bright river across the sky, is only a small fraction of the true whole. The rest is dark and quiet and everywhere, spread all through and around the galaxy in its great unseen halo. It is a humbling thought to carry gently down into sleep, that the galaxy is far greater than it appears, that most of what holds our home together has never once been seen by any eye or instrument, that we live inside a vastness only the smallest part of which shines. And yet there is a strange comfort in it, too, the sense of being held by something far larger and far more patient than anything we can see. We first came to sense the dark matter through the turning of the galaxy itself. When astronomers measured how fast the outer stars were circling, they found something that made no sense. Those distant stars were moving far too quickly for the visible mass to hold onto them. By all the light we could see, they should long ago have flung themselves off into empty space and been lost. And yet there they were, held firmly in their orbits, turning steadily across billions of years. Something unseen was holding them, something with a great and gentle grip. The stars, simply by the way they turned, were quietly telling us about a vast presence we could not see. We had only to watch them carefully enough, and listen, and be willing to be surprised. The galaxy was keeping a secret in plain sight, and its turning gave it away. The dark halo is thought to be nearly round, a vast, soft, invisible sphere, far larger than the bright disk it surrounds and cradles at its center. Within it, the luminous galaxy floats like a single glowing coin suspended at the middle of an enormous, unseen cloud. Everything you have ever seen in all the nights of your life, every star, every planet, the whole shining band of the Milky Way itself, is contained within this quiet sphere, held gently within its bounds, turning slowly together through the dark. It reaches out around us in every direction, this great halo, silent and round and immense, so much larger than the part that shines. We live near the center of a vast invisible sphere, and we have never felt its edges, and we never will. It simply holds us softly, and asks nothing, and makes no sound. Out in the halo, far above and far below the crowded disk, a scattering of lone stars drifts along long, looping paths, solitary wanderers, tracing slow orbits that carry them far out into the deep dark and then gently back again, over hundreds of millions of years for a single pass. They live in a far greater emptiness than we do, out there, where the nearest neighboring star is unimaginably distant, and the disk of the galaxy hangs below them like a great luminous wheel seen from above. Theirs is perhaps the deepest solitude the galaxy has to offer, a stillness and a silence more complete than anything we know down here in the busier disk. And yet it, too, is peaceful. There is no loneliness in it, only quiet and space, and the slow turning of a single star through the vast and gentle dark, patient beyond all telling. Our galaxy did not grow alone, and it did not grow all at once. Over billions of years, the Milky Way has slowly drawn in, and gently pulled apart, and absorbed many smaller galaxies that wandered too close to it, unraveling them softly over long ages, and weaving their stars in among its own. The great galaxy we see tonight is, in part, made of these swallowed neighbors. Some of the stars in our own halo were born in other, smaller galaxies entirely, long ago, before being drawn quietly in. Our home grew the way a great river grows, not by any sudden act, but by patiently, endlessly gathering in the smaller streams that flowed down toward it until they became indistinguishable from the river itself. The Milky Way is, in a sense, a gathering together of many galaxies, made one over unimaginable time, still quietly growing even now. And the evidence of those ancient meals is still there in the sky, if you know how to look for it. Long, faint streams of stars, stretched across the halo like pale ribbons or trailing threads, the slowly unraveling remains of smaller galaxies, their stars still strung out along the very paths they were following as they were drawn in and pulled apart, billions of years ago. They are gentle scars, these star streams, soft and fading, drifting slowly around the galaxy that consumed them. Over time they will thin and spread and blend in completely until the galaxy remembers them no more, and their stars become simply our own. But for now they linger, quiet traces of galaxies that once were, dissolving without pain into the great whole. Everything, in the end, is gathered gently in. Everything, in the end, becomes part of the river. We have felt, now, the great unseen presence that wraps and holds the galaxy, the vast dark halo, the ancient hidden mass, the quiet gravity that binds it all together. And though we cannot see it, we know that it is there, and that it is gentle, and that it holds everything safely in its place. Let yourself be held in just that way now. You do not need to see what holds you, or name it, or understand it. You need only trust the holding, the bed beneath you, the dark around you, the quiet weight of your own tired body sinking into rest. So much of what keeps us safe is unseen. Let it hold you now, without your watching. And let us drift back in, toward home. Let us come closer to home now, in toward our own small quiet corner of the galaxy, the handful of stars that are our nearest neighbors, and the gentle emptiness that surrounds us. After the vastness of all we have seen, there is something restful in drawing near again to the familiar, to our own sun, and the few soft lights closest to it, and the wide, calm space in which we drift. It is a small and peaceful neighborhood, ours, spread thin and far apart, with room enough for everything. As we settle into it, you might feel yourself drawing closer, too, to your own quiet center, coming home, in a sense, to the small warm space where you are lying now, safe and still, at the heart of your own little corner of the night. For all the vastness we have traveled through tonight, there is nowhere in the whole galaxy more important, right now, than this small warm place where you are resting. The stars can keep their distances. The great arms can keep their slow turning. You have arrived exactly where you need to be, or here, under the covers, in the quiet, with nothing left to reach for. Let that be enough now. Let the whole enormous galaxy do its turning far away, and let your own small corner of it grow soft, and warm, and still, and utterly safe, as you settle the last little way down into rest. The very nearest star to our own sun is a small, cool, faint red dwarf, drifting quietly at the edge of our little neighborhood, a star called Proxima Centauri. It is far too dim to see without a telescope, hidden in the glare of its brighter companions, and yet, of all the hundreds of billions of stars in the whole galaxy, it is our closest neighbor, the nearest sun to ours in all the dark. And even so, it is unimaginably far away. To reach it, You would have to cross a gulf of emptiness so vast that the fastest thing we have ever built would take tens of thousands of years to make the journey. The nearest of all our neighbors, the very closest star there is, and still utterly, gently, beyond our reach. That is how spacious our galaxy is. That is how much quiet room surrounds each single star. How far away is it, really? The light from Proxima Centauri takes more than 4 years to reach us, traveling, all the while, at the very fastest speed that anything can travel. For years of unbroken flight, at the speed of light, just across from our nearest neighbor to us. To picture such a distance gently, imagine shrinking our sun all the way down to the size of a single grain of sand. On that tiny scale, its nearest neighbor would be another grain of sand, some kilometers away, with nothing at all in between the two but empty, silent dark. That is the true spacing of the stars, grains of sand, kilometers apart, in a vast and quiet emptiness. The galaxy is not crowded. It is mostly, gently, and peacefully empty, an enormous darkness, with a few small warm lights scattered very, very far apart. Our sun is drifting, at this very moment, through a soft and tenuous wisp of gas called the local interstellar cloud, a region so thin, so nearly empty, that it is a better vacuum than almost anything we could ever make on Earth, and yet it is, if you like, the air of our own small corner of the galaxy. We have been passing through it, slowly and silently, for thousands of years already, and we will go on passing through it for thousands more, without ever once feeling a thing. It does not slow us, it does not stir us, it does not touch us in any way we could sense. We simply glide on through it, our whole solar system together, carried smoothly through this faint and drifting cloud, on a journey so gentle and so slow that not a single night's sleep has ever been troubled by it, in all of human history. And that little cloud, in turn, sits nestled inside something far larger still, a great hollow region called the local bubble, an enormous cavity of especially thin gas, scooped out of the galaxy long ago by the winds and blasts of ancient exploding stars. Our sun has been traveling through this quiet, empty hollow for millions of years. It turns out that we live in a kind of clearing in the galaxy, a calm, swept clean space in the dark, where the gas is thinner and the way is open, and the night is especially deep and especially still. Of all the places in the crowded disk we might have found ourselves, we drift through one of the emptiest and quietest, a great gentle bubble of open space, cleared long ago, in which our small solar system sails on undisturbed. It is a peaceful place to be. It is a good place, tonight, to rest. Within a few light years of home lie only a mere handful of stars, the 3 stars of the Alpha Centauri system, including our neighbor Proxima, 1 or 2 faint red dwarfs, a scattering of other dim and modest suns. You could very nearly count our true neighbors on the fingers of your hands. And beyond that small, close circle, the darkness simply opens out, vast, and unbroken, and deep, before the next stars begin, light years further on. It is a small and quiet neighborhood, ours, a few scattered lights, set far apart, in an enormous and peaceful dark. There is no crowd around us, no press of nearby suns, no blazing sky. Only a handful of gentle neighbors, each one unimaginably distant, and between them, and all around us, the wide and restful emptiness of space, stretching away softly in every direction into the night. The stars are not fixed in their places, though they seem so still to us. Each one is drifting slowly through the galaxy on its own quiet path, at its own quiet pace, and so, over long enough ages, the very shapes of the constellations slowly change. The familiar patterns we see tonight are only a passing arrangement, a single still frame in a film that runs for millions of years. The people of the distant past looked up at figures slightly different from ours, and the people of the distant future will look up at figures different still, the plow slowly bending out of shape, the hunter Orion slowly losing his form, as the stars drift each their own way through the dark. Nothing in the sky is truly permanent. But the changes are so gentle and so slow that across a whole human life the stars seem to hold perfectly, reassuringly still. Our own sun is carrying us all, at this moment, toward a particular point in the sky, over near the constellation of Hercules, moving that way through the local swarm of stars at many kilometers every second. We are not standing still in the galaxy, we are quietly, constantly journeying, always, toward the distant patch of sky, in among the drifting neighbor stars. And yet the motion is so vast, and so utterly smooth, that we sail on through it for whole lifetimes without ever once sensing that we have moved at all. There is no wind of it, no rush, no shudder. We simply drift, endlessly and gently, toward Hercules, carrying the Earth and everyone on it along on the long slow journey, a journey with no arrival, and no destination we will ever reach, only the quiet, continual, restful going. You are traveling, even now, even as you lie perfectly still. Every so often, a wanderer from another star drifts silently through our neighborhood, a lonely comet, or a lone fragment of rock and ice, cast out from some distant solar system long ago, and passing now through ours on a journey with no true home at either end. We have glimpsed only a very few of them, faint and fleeting, hurrying through and away again into the dark. But they are quiet reminders that the galaxy is all connected, that its far and separate corners send small travelers to one another, across the vast emptiness, patiently, over enormous spans of time. Somewhere out there, other systems have received wanderers from ours, and thought them strange, and we, in turn, receive theirs. It is a slow and silent kind of exchange, spread across the dark, a gentle passing of small things from star to star, a reminder that even the loneliest reaches of space are, in the end, quietly linked. For all the hundreds of billions of stars in our galaxy, actual collisions between them are almost unheard of, so rare as to be very nearly impossible. The distances are simply too enormous, the stars themselves too small against the vast emptiness that surrounds each one. Our whole galaxy could pass clean through another galaxy, star by star, and scarcely a single one of all those billions of stars would ever strike another. There is a deep and quiet reassurance in that spaciousness, worth holding as you sink toward sleep, that out here, in the great dark, there is room enough for everything, that the stars, for all their number, keep their gentle distances, that nothing is crowded, and nothing collides, and there is nothing at all pressing in. Only vast, peaceful, well-spaced quiet, in which each star, and each small world, has room enough, and to spare. More than anything else, the space between the stars is empty, vast, and silent, and endlessly gentle. If our sun were the only lit lamp for light years in every direction, the emptiness around it would be almost total, a darkness deeper and more complete than any we know. And yet this great emptiness is not a lonely thing, not a sad or frightening void. It is, rather, peaceful. It is the wide, quiet room in which the stars are free to drift and turn and shine, each in its own place, without ever crowding or disturbing one another. It is the spaciousness that keeps everything safe and unhurried and calm. Think of that emptiness now as something restful rather than something cold, the great, gentle, open dark in which the few warm lights of the galaxy hang softly, far apart, each with all the quiet room it could ever need. And you, tonight, are held gently within it. We have come home, now, to our own small quiet corner of the galaxy, the few near stars, the wide soft emptiness, the calm clearing in which our sun drifts on. And perhaps that is the gentlest place of all to rest, not out among the crowds and the fires of the center, but here, in the peaceful outskirts, where there is room to breathe, and space to be small, and quiet enough to sleep. Let yourself settle fully into that quiet now. There is nowhere you need to go, and no one you need to be, and all the room in the world simply to rest. Let the wide, gentle emptiness hold you softly. And let us drift out, one last time, to look beyond our galaxy altogether. Now let us lift our gaze once more, and look beyond our own galaxy entirely, out to the other galaxies that drift alongside it through the dark, our great companions in the deep. For the Milky Way is not alone. It travels in company, bound by gravity to a small family of galaxies, each one holding its own uncountable stars. There is a quiet grandeur in this, and a quiet comfort too, that even the galaxies keep one another company, drifting together through the vast dark, held close across distances beyond all thought. As we drift out among them, let the scale of it soothe rather than overwhelm you, let it make your own small worries feel light, and far away, and gentle, dissolving softly into the enormous, peaceful dark. Our galaxy has a great companion. Far, far across the dark lies Andromeda, the nearest large galaxy to our own, a vast spiral very much like the Milky Way, holding perhaps 1 trillion stars of its own within its slowly turning arms. And on the very darkest and clearest of nights, in the right season, you can see it with your own bare eyes, a faint, soft, oval smudge of light, low and pale in the sky. It is the most distant thing that the human eye can see without any instrument at all, an entire galaxy of 1 trillion suns, reduced by sheer distance to the gentlest blur of light. And it is, in its way, our sister, another great spiral, turning quietly out there in the dark, keeping us company across an ocean of emptiness so wide that its light takes millions of years simply to reach us. The light from Andromeda that falls upon your eyes tonight has been traveling toward you for about 2.5 million years, setting out on its long journey across the dark long before there were any people here to look up and receive it. When you gaze at that faint oval smudge, you are not seeing the galaxy as it is now, but as it was 2.5 million years ago, an image of the deep past, delivered softly to the present. The Andromeda you see tonight is a ghost of an ancient galaxy. What it truly looks like at this moment, no one alive will ever know, for that light has not yet begun its crossing. You are looking, quite literally, into the distant past, receiving, on this quiet evening, a message sent out before your kind of creature had even come to be. And here is a gentle surprise. Hidden in that faint and ancient light, Andromeda is coming closer. Slowly, silently, across billions of years, it is drifting toward us through the dark, drawn onward by the quiet, patient pull of gravity reaching across all that emptiness. Far in the future, some 4 or 5 billion years from now, our 2 great galaxies will at last meet and slowly, gracefully merge, and in time become a single, greater galaxy. But there is not the smallest need for alarm in this, not tonight, not for any night you will ever know. It is unimaginably far away, and unimaginably slow, so gradual that 100 human lifetimes would not reveal the slightest change. It will not touch this night, nor any night, for billions of years. It is only a slow and distant coming together, drifting toward us with all the patience of the stars. And when at last the two galaxies do come together, it will be the very gentlest of collisions, gentle almost beyond belief. For the stars within each galaxy are so tiny against the vast emptiness around them that, in all that great merging, almost none of them will ever strike another. There will be no crashing, no shattering, no ruin. Instead, the two enormous spirals will simply pass through one another and slowly swirl and settle over hundreds of millions of years into a single new galaxy, a vast, unhurried dance of light, emerging so slow and so spacious that no star is ever harmed. Whole galaxies will pass through each other, and scarcely a single sun will feel it. It is not a crash at all, in the end, but a kind of quiet, immense, and graceful embrace, unfolding across time so slowly that it looks, from any single moment, like perfect stillness. Nearer to home, two small galaxies keep our own galaxy gentle company. The Magellanic Clouds, faint and lovely, visible only from the skies of the southern half of the world. They are dwarf galaxies, small satellites of the great Milky Way, circling us slowly across the ages, held close by our gravity. To the peoples of the southern hemisphere they have always been familiar and beloved sights, two soft, glowing patches of light, drifting near the great pale river of the Milky Way, woven into countless stories and names across countless generations. They are our nearest galactic neighbors of all, two small companions, following the Milky Way through the dark like little boats trailing a great ship. And they, too, are slowly being drawn in, their stars gently pulled out into long streams, destined, in the fullness of time, to become part of us. The Milky Way is surrounded by a whole small crowd of these dwarf galaxies, dozens of them, faint and modest and dim, orbiting our great spiral like a scattering of moons around a world. Most of them are so faint that we have found them only recently, and there may well be more still waiting, too dim yet to be seen, out in the quiet halo. They are our galaxy's quiet family, these little dwarfs, kept close by the patient pull of gravity, circling us faithfully in the dark, some of them slowly being drawn inward and gently taken apart, their stars added, over the ages, to our own. Our great galaxy travels through the universe not alone, but attended, surrounded by its small, faint, faithful companions, a gathering of little galaxies drifting along together with us through the deep, in one loose and quiet company. Our galaxy, and Andromeda, and all these small attending dwarfs, belong together to a single larger gathering called the local group, a family of a few dozen galaxies, bound loosely to one another by gravity, drifting together through the greater dark. It is our neighborhood on the very largest scale of all, not a neighborhood of stars, but a neighborhood of whole galaxies, each one holding its own billions of suns. And within that gathering, the Milky Way and Andromeda are the two great anchors, the two largest galaxies, holding all the smaller ones gently around them, the two slow centers of the whole quiet company. Everything you have ever seen, and unimaginably more besides, is contained within this one small group of galaxies, adrift together in the enormous dark, a single family, keeping together, across distances the mind can barely hold, held by nothing but gravity's silent, patient hand. Everything in the local group is held together by the very same quiet force that holds you, right now, gently to the earth, gravity, reaching silently across millions of light-years of empty dark, binding whole galaxies into a single, slow-turning family. It asks for nothing. It makes no sound. It never rests and never tires. It simply holds, patiently, endlessly, across distances beyond all imagining. That same invisible hand that keeps you resting softly on your bed tonight is, at this very moment, holding entire galaxies together across the void, keeping Andromeda and the Milky Way in their long, slow approach, keeping the little dwarfs in their faithful orbits. It is the gentlest and most patient force there is, always pulling things together, always drawing near what is far, always, quietly, holding. And it is holding you, and holding the galaxies, with the very same steady and unwearying care. And the local group, in its turn, is only a small part of something greater still. Galaxies gather into groups, and groups gather into vast clusters, and clusters gather into enormous superclusters, great chains and sheets of galaxies, stretching across distances far too immense for the mind to follow or hold. We belong to one such vast structure, drifting slowly within it, one single galaxy among uncountable others, all bound together loosely in the great, slow architecture of the universe. There is no edge to it that we have ever found, no end to the galaxies, no limit to the depth of the dark. It simply goes on, group beyond group, cluster beyond cluster, galaxies beyond galaxies, more of them than there are grains of sand on all the earth. And we, and our whole local group, are one small quiet part of that endless gathering, drifting gently within the greatest structure there is. On the very largest scale of all, the galaxies are not scattered randomly through space. They are strung together into a vast and delicate web, long, glowing filaments of galaxies, wrapped around great and silent empty voids, like the faintest cobweb spread across all of existence, spun from galaxies instead of thread. It is the largest structure there is, this cosmic web, greater than anything else in the universe, a network of shining strands and dark hollows, reaching in every direction, further than any telescope can see. And our own galaxy is one small, bright drop of dew upon a single strand of that immense and gentle web. And within that one small galaxy, on one small world, circling one ordinary star, in one quiet arm, you are resting, tonight, held in the great web, a single point of warmth in the vast and beautiful architecture of all that is. We have drifted, now, as far out as we will go, out past our own galaxy, among its great companions, to the very edge of what the mind can hold. And strangely, out here at the largest scale of all, there is the same gentle truth we have met everywhere tonight, that nothing is truly alone, that everything keeps company with everything else, that even the galaxies drift together, held close across the dark. You are part of that great togetherness, right now, exactly where you lie. You are not separate, and you are not alone. You are woven softly into the whole immense and gentle web of things. Let that dissolve the last of the day's small worries. And let us drift, gently, back among the countless quiet worlds. Now let us turn to something that would once have seemed the stuff of dreams, the countless other worlds that fill our galaxy, turning quietly around their own distant suns. For a long time we did not know whether any existed at all. Now we know that there are more of them than there are stars, an endless, unseen multitude of planets, of every kind imaginable, scattered through the whole Milky Way. As we drift among them, imagine, softly, all those far-off worlds turning in the dark at this very moment, each with its own quiet night, its own slow weather, its own gentle evening coming on. And let the thought of so many peaceful, sleeping worlds carry you further toward your own rest, one small dreamer among countless dreaming worlds, all drifting gently through the same great dark. There is a quiet company in that thought for these last stretches of our journey. You are not the only one sinking into the dark tonight. All across the galaxy, on world after world beyond number, the light is fading and the long night is coming on, and everything is turning, softly, toward rest, just as you are. You are part of something vast and gentle and half asleep. So there is nothing strange, and nothing to resist, in your own growing heaviness. It is only the most natural thing there is, one small corner of the universe, turning quietly toward the dark, and letting go, and going to sleep. For almost all of human history, we simply did not know whether other stars had worlds of their own, as our sun does. We could only wonder, and look up, and hope. But now, at last, we know, and the answer is more wonderful than we dared to imagine. Nearly every star you can see in the sky is circled by planets of its own. Worlds are not rare, or exotic, or precious oddities, they are ordinary, and common, and very nearly everywhere. Around each of those countless distant suns turn worlds we will never see and never name, unseen planets, orbiting quietly in the dark, more numerous by far than all the stars themselves. The galaxy is not a scattering of lonely lights in an empty dark. It is filled, quietly, with worlds uncounted and unvisited, and turning gently around every star, tonight, as you drift towards sleep beneath them. If nearly every star has planets, then the number of worlds in our galaxy alone is simply staggering, many billions upon billions of them, more planets than there are stars, spread through every corner of the Milky Way. There are, in all likelihood, more worlds in our single galaxy than there are grains of sand on every beach and in every desert on all of the Earth, combined. And nearly every one of those countless worlds has never been seen, and never will be. They will turn out their long quiet lives entirely unknown to us, orbiting their distant suns in the dark, with no eye ever upon them. They simply are an uncountable multitude of worlds, scattered across the galaxy, real and solid and turning, whether or not anyone ever learns that they exist. It is almost beyond the mind to hold that there are that many worlds, out there, right now, in the dark above you. And these worlds come in every imaginable kind, and many kinds we never imagined at all. There are giant planets far larger than Jupiter, and small rocky worlds much like our own. There are planets of scorching, molten fire, so close to their stars that their surfaces run like glowing seas, and planets of endless, silent ice, drifting far out in the frozen dark. There are worlds cloaked entirely in deep oceans, with no land at all, and worlds of nothing but bare, windswept stone. The galaxy has been quietly experimenting, patiently and without hurry, for billions upon billions of years, and it has made, it seems, very nearly every kind of world that could possibly be made. Whatever a world could be, somewhere in the Milky Way, it very likely is, turning gently, right now, around some distant star, one more variation in an endless, quiet catalogue of worlds. Around some stars there lies a gentle band, not too hot, and not too cold, where a world, if one happens to orbit there, could hold liquid water resting on its surface. We call it the habitable zone, the region where a planet could have oceans, and rivers, and rain. And when we look, we find that such worlds are not rare. There are, in all likelihood, countless planets scattered through our galaxy resting quietly in that gentle band, worlds with the real possibility of seas beneath their skies, of tides and shorelines and slow, soft weather. Whether anyone, or anything, stirs upon them, we cannot yet say, and may not know for a very long time. But the worlds themselves are surely there, uncounted gentle planets, turning in their stars warm, habitable light, with the quiet potential for water, and perhaps for more, waiting patiently in the dark. Not every world belongs to a star. Some planets drift entirely alone through the galaxy, rogue worlds, cast out from the systems where they formed long ago, and wandering now through the open dark with no sun at all to warm them or to light their skies. They fall through the endless night in perpetual darkness and deep cold, unlit, unseen, and utterly silent, on journeys with no destination and no end. There may well be billions of them out there, adrift between the stars, more perhaps than there are stars themselves. It is a lonely thought, at first, and yet, held gently, it becomes a peaceful one, whole worlds, drifting quietly through the dark, asking nothing, needing nothing, simply being, in the vast and silent night. They are not troubled by their solitude. They simply drift, patient and calm, through the great dark, as everything in the galaxy, in its own way, drifts. We cannot usually see these distant worlds directly. They are far too faint, and far too small, lost entirely in the overwhelming glare of the stars they circle. So we find them, instead, by their small and subtle effects, by the faint, regular dimming of a star's light as a world passes in front of it, blocking the tiniest fraction of its glow, or by the small wobble a planet's gravity gives to its star, tugging it gently back and forth. From whispers of evidence like these, a flicker, a wobble, a shadow, we have learned of thousands upon thousands of worlds we could never actually see. We found them not by looking at them, but by listening, patiently, to what they did to their stars. It is a gentle kind of discovery, this, feeling for unseen worlds by the faint traces they leave, sensing the presence of planets we will never glimpse, by the quiet ways they move the light. Among the very first worlds we ever found around other stars were strange ones, enormous planets, larger even than Jupiter, yet circling so impossibly close to their suns that they are scorched to glowing heat, their whole years lasting only a handful of days. We came to call them hot Jupiters. They were nothing at all like anything in our own tidy, well-ordered solar system, where the giant planets keep to the cold and distant outer dark. And they taught us an early and humbling lesson, right at the start of our search, that the galaxy's imagination is far, far wider than our own, that worlds could be arranged in ways we had never thought to picture, that our own solar system, familiar as it is only one quiet arrangement among countless others, and by no means the rule. The galaxy, it turned out, had been building worlds in ways we had never dreamed. Very common, too, throughout the galaxy, are worlds of a kind we have no example of at all here at home, the super-Earths, larger than our own planet but smaller than the giants, rocky, perhaps, or wrapped in deep atmospheres and oceans, worlds of a size that simply does not exist in our own solar system. They may in fact be among the most abundant kinds of world in the entire Milky Way, and yet our own Sun's family has not a single one of them. There are whole vast families of worlds out there, common as anything across the galaxy, of a type we have never once seen up close, and can only study from unimaginably far away. It is a quiet reminder of how partial our view has always been, that the most ordinary sort of world in all the galaxy might be a kind we, at home, have never known at all. And somewhere among all those countless billions of worlds, it now seems almost certain, are quiet planets with deep oceans beneath gentle skies, worlds turning slowly around their suns, with tides that rise and fall, and seasons that come and go, and long, soft evenings settling into long, calm nights, much like this one. We do not know if anyone is there to watch their stars come out, or to feel the coolness gather as their sun goes down. Perhaps no one is, perhaps someone is. But the worlds themselves are surely there, real and solid, and turning in the dark, with their oceans and their weather and their slow and peaceful nights, whether or not they are ever seen, whether or not anyone ever knows. As you drift toward your own night's sleep, imagine them, softly, countless gentle evenings, falling at once, on countless quiet worlds, all across the galaxy. We have only just begun to count the worlds. In the space of a few short decades, a mere blink, by the measure of the stars, we have gone from knowing of not a single planet beyond our own solar system, to knowing of thousands, to understanding that there must be billions upon billions more, uncounted, all across the galaxy. The Milky Way is far fuller than we ever dreamed, crowded, quietly and endlessly, with worlds. And as you settle now toward sleep, they are all of them out there still, turning gently in the dark, an endless, unseen archipelago of worlds, scattered through the whole galaxy, more than could ever be numbered or named. Each one a place. Each one real. Each one turning, patiently, through its own night and its own day, in the vast and gentle dark, high above you, as your eyes grow heavy and begin, at last, to close. We have wandered, now, among the countless worlds of the galaxy, the uncounted planets, turning quietly around their distant suns, each with its own slow nights and its own soft dawns. And perhaps, of everything we have seen tonight, that is the thought to carry down into sleep, that all across the galaxy, at this very moment, night is falling somewhere, and something, somewhere, is settling gently into rest, just as you are now. You are one small sleeper among countless sleeping worlds. There is nothing strange in your tiredness, and nothing to resist. It is only the galaxy, in one of its countless quiet corners, turning gently toward the dark. So let your eyes stay closed now, if they have closed. And let us drift, softly, toward the end of our long journey, and the deep of the night. And now we come, gently, to the last of our 100 wonders, to the deep time of the galaxy, its long past and its longer future, and to a slow and quiet farewell. By now, perhaps, your eyes have already closed, perhaps you have drifted off somewhere among the stars, and these words are only a soft murmur at the edge of sleep. That is exactly as it should be. There is nothing left to do now but let go of the day, of your thoughts, of your very hold on waking. As we speak, softly, of the vastness of time, and of how briefly and how preciously we are here, let it all grow gentle and far away, and let yourself sink, at last, all the way down into rest. Our galaxy is very, very old. It has been turning, and shining, and slowly forming its stars, for something close to 13 billion years, nearly as long as the universe itself has existed. It was already ancient beyond imagining before the Earth was ever formed, already ancient before our own sun first began to shine. Everything that has ever happened in all of human history, every empire and every life, every love and every night's sleep, the whole story of our kind from beginning to now has taken place within only the very last, thinnest sliver of the Milky Way's long and patient life. We are the briefest of latecomers, arriving in the final moment of a story billions of years in the telling. And the galaxy holds us just the same, gently and without the slightest hurry, as though it had been waiting all along for us to arrive, and to look up, and to wonder. The galaxy did not begin as the great spiral we see now. It grew, slowly and patiently, out of smaller pieces, scattered clouds of gas and little huddles of stars, drawn together over billions of years, gathering and merging and settling, until the vast wheel of the Milky Way took shape. It assembled itself gradually, gently, out of the raw and formless darkness of the early universe, the way almost everything grand seems in the end to come to be, not all at once, not in a single stroke, but little by little, quietly, over unimaginable stretches of time. What is now a shining river of hundreds of billions of stars began as faint and scattered wisps of gas in the dark, patient beyond all measure, slowly finding one another, and gathering, and becoming, at last, the home we know. It was in no hurry to become itself. It simply, gently, did. Some of the stars still shining in our galaxy tonight are almost as old as time itself, ancient suns that were already burning when the Milky Way was young, and are burning, faithfully, still. They have watched the entire story unfold, from very near its beginning, the slow forming of the disk, the winding of the spiral arms, the birth and the death of countless younger generations of stars, the late and quiet arrival of our own small Sunday. They are the galaxy's living memory, these elders, its oldest and most patient witnesses, glowing faintly on through all of it, keeping their long and silent watch across billions of years. When their ancient light falls on you tonight, you are receiving a glow that began before the Earth existed, from a star that has outlasted very nearly everything. And it is shining still, quietly, asking nothing, having watched the whole long story, and content simply to go on. Our own sun still has a long, long life ahead of it, about 5 billion more years of steady, faithful warmth, far more time than has yet passed since the Earth was born. And then, in its distant old age, it will slowly swell into a vast red giant, glowing softly and enormously outward, before it gently sheds its outer layers into the dark and settles, at last, into a small and quiet white ember, to cool for ages upon ages. But that ending is unimaginably far away. 5 billion years is longer than the mind can truly hold. There will be time between this night and that far-off evening of the sun, for everything, for all the mornings still to come, for all the lives yet to be lived, for countless quiet nights of sleep like this one. This night is not near any ending. It is only one small, safe moment, very near the beginning of an almost endless warmth. Far in the future, when our sun is old, and Andromeda has finally come, our two great galaxies will complete their slow and gentle merging, and the familiar spiral of the Milky Way, the shape we have always known, will at last be gone. In its place there will be a single, greater galaxy, calmer and rounder, its arms unwound and settled, a vast quiet gathering of the stars of both. The night sky of that far-distant age would be strange and unfamiliar and beautiful beyond anything we can picture, filled with the mingled light of two galaxies become one. but all of that lies billions of years away, further than thought can comfortably travel. The Milky Way we know tonight, its arms, its river of light, its familiar shape, will hold, exactly as it is, for longer than the mind can grasp. What is coming is beautiful, and it is very, very far away. And in the very deepest future of all, unimaginably far from now, the galaxy will slowly grow quiet. The gas from which new stars are made will gradually run low, and fewer new suns will be lit along the arms, until at last the great, endless making of light draws gently to its close. But this is so impossibly far away as to be almost beyond all meaning, countless billions upon billions of years from now, longer than the universe has yet existed many times over. It is not a thing to hold with any weight tonight. For all the time that could ever matter to us, and to our world, and to everyone we will ever know, the galaxy will go on shining, warm, and full, and bright, and endlessly making new stars in the dark. The quiet is coming, yes, but it is so far off that it is really only a way of saying, there is time. There is so very much time. Set against all of this, the 13 billion years, the hundreds of billions of stars, the endless deep time still to come, a single human life is the very briefest of flickers, and a single night briefer still, a mere breath in the long, slow story of the galaxy. And yet there is no sadness to be found in that, not really, not when you hold it gently. To be here at all, to be awake, even for so short a while, beneath such a sky, on such a world, in such a galaxy, is an extraordinary and improbable and precious gift, more unlikely than can be told. You are a small moment in which the vast and ancient Milky Way has, somehow, come quietly to know itself, to look up at its own stars, and wonder. That is no small thing to be, however brief. That is, perhaps, the most remarkable thing there is. Remember, as you drift now toward the edge of sleep, that all the starlight falling gently upon you tonight is old. Every single point of light in all the sky set out on its long journey toward you ages ago, years past, or centuries, or many thousands of years, crossing the vast and silent dark all that time, patiently, without pause, only to arrive here at last, softly, just here, just now, just as your eyes begin to close. You are bathed, this very night, in the gathered and ancient light of the whole Milky Way, light that began its journey before you were born, before your kind was born, before the cities and the fields and the oldest stories. It has been traveling all this while to reach you, and it has reached you, on this quiet night, at this quiet hour. Let it fall on you gently, all that old and patient light, and let it carry you down into rest. And you are not, in any way, apart from any of it. The iron that reddens your blood, the calcium that shapes your bones, the very carbon of your body, the breath that rises and falls in your chest, all of it was forged, long ago, inside the burning hearts of the stars of this galaxy, and scattered into the dark when those stars died, and slowly, patiently gathered up again, over billions of years, into the world, and into you. You are made of stars. You are the Milky Way, briefly awake, a small, warm, thinking, breathing piece of the galaxy, resting now, quietly, beneath the vast and gentle rest of itself. There is no distance, in the end, between you and the stars above you. They are your origin, and your substance, and your kin. And tonight, one small piece of the galaxy is lying still, and growing sleepy, and going home to rest. So let the galaxy keep turning, softly, as it always has, and as it always will, whether we are watching it or not. There is nothing left to do tonight. There is nowhere left to be, and nothing left to solve, and no distance left to cross. The stars will hold their long and faithful courses through the dark. The spiral arms will keep their slow and shining wheel. The ancient light will keep on falling, gently, from the deep and quiet sky. And you may let go of all of it now, every thought, every task, every last small weight of the day, and let your breathing slow, and let your body grow heavy and warm, and let your eyes close, and drift down, gently and without any effort at all, into sleep, safe beneath the oldest light there is. The galaxy will keep you. The galaxy has always kept you. Sleep now. Good night. The galaxy keeps turning, whether we watch or not. There is nothing more you need to hear, and nothing more you need to do. If you are still awake, even a little, let these last few words be the softest of all, spoken not to keep you here, but only to walk you gently to the doorway of sleep, and to leave you there, safe, and warm, and held. The stars will keep their courses through the night. The Milky Way will keep its slow and shining wheel, exactly as it has for billions of years, exactly as it will for billions more. And you have your small, warm place within it, nothing you must earn, nothing you must hold on to, simply your place, given freely, among the oldest light there is. So rest now, as deeply as you like. Let the last of the words dissolve into the music, and the music dissolve into the quiet, and the quiet carry you the rest of the way down. And whenever you wish to wander among the stars again, they will be here, patient and shining and unhurried, waiting quietly in the dark for you to return. There is nothing left to do now. Nothing to think about. Nothing to solve, and nothing to remember, and nowhere at all to be. Let your body stay exactly as heavy as it is, sinking just a little deeper with each slow breath out. With every breath, a little heavier. With every breath, a little further down. There is no bottom to reach and no effort to make, only the soft, slow settling, like a leaf drifting down through still water, turning gently, in no hurry at all to land. Let go of the day now, completely. Whatever it held, the things that went well, the things that did not, the words you said and the words you didn't, let all of it grow quiet and small and far away, like the lights of a town seen from a great distance at night. None of it needs you now. None of it is asking anything of you. You may set it all down and leave it in the dark, and simply rest. And if there is any last small thread of thought still turning somewhere in your mind, you do not need to cut it, or chase it, or push it away. Just let it loosen, on its own, the way everything loosens here, the way the stars loosen from the arms, the way the galaxies drift apart, the way the old light lets go of its star and drifts off, at last, into the dark. Everything, in the end, lets go. And so, now, softly, may you. Let your breathing carry you the rest of the way. In and out. In and slowly out. Each breath a little slower. Each one a little deeper. Down and gently down. The stars are keeping watch. The galaxy is holding you. There is nothing you need to guard, and nothing you need to keep. You are safe. You are warm. You are held. And you may let yourself go, all the way, Now, into sleep. Sleep now. You are held. Good night, and sleep well.